My name is Mike Vini, and I'm here today to talk about minority mental health. And when I refer to minority mental health, I'm typically talking about the African American community and the Latino community here in the United States. And that being said, I'm a person who lives with mental health issues, and as you can see, I am African American. So I wanted to share 5 things that I've observed and researched about minority mental health that will help transform the stigma around it. Number 1, you have to fix poverty. As a group, African Americans have a disproportionate number of people living at or below the poverty level, and that in and of itself leads to more and more mental health challenges. There was a study done in 2003 in the Journal for the American Medical Association that talked about a Native American reservation where the poverty level was very high. Once they improved the economy through adding a casino, the mental health challenges that the people were experiencing significantly decreased. So it's really important to address the economy and poverty when you're addressing mental health. One of the cool projects I'm involved in right now is an entrepreneurship camp in Haiti. We're helping to rebuild the economy, and believe it or not, I haven't even had a chance to discuss mental health down there because we have a bigger issue with people just finding a living wage and making enough money to feed their family and put clothes on their back. So you have to, number 1, fix poverty. Number 2, there's a lack of resources in minority communities. If you go look for mental health resources in the African American, in the Latino communities, they're not as abundant as they are in the majority of America. So one thing I've been encouraging professionals to do, and I'm talking about mental health professionals such as psychologists, psychiatrists, and social workers, is to come into these communities more. We need you. This could mean volunteering in these communities. However, there's a challenge that happens, and that's if you have a Caucasian professional coming into a minority community, there's a difficulty in connecting with the people of that community. So it's really important that the professionals that come in really take the time to invest in learning about the people of that community. It's very important. Number 3, you have to factor in culture into the conversation. One of my favorite classes in high school was English vocabulary. It was a wonderful class for me. I used to come home and take my book and do my vocab, and I'll never forget it. In 11th grade, I came home and saw a word that I will never forget. The word was culture, and I can see the definition in my head right now. It's the ideas, customs, and traditions for a group of people. And the word really hit me because it reminded me that even though culture exists, there's certain things that we all do as part of the culture, we can also change culture. Okay, a lot of times things happen in culture that we don't think about, but we can change culture. And one thing I want to also share with that, I learned this from my assistant who actually is Caucasian, that minority communities are typically cultures of honor and pride. You don't disrespect anybody, and you want to be a strong black man or a strong black woman. And I think it's really important to reassess what our vision of a strong black man and a strong black woman is if we're going to address mental health. One of the challenges that I've seen firsthand is people don't want to talk about depression and anxiety because it appears to be weak. So that's really important to remember, the culture of honor and pride, and you have to figure out a new paradigm in there in order to keep people feeling good about themselves and also address mental health. Number 4, trends. Like culture, people love trends, particularly in minority communities. It comes from something called the herd mentality. We all do things without realizing it. We talk about certain things in the culture without realizing it. And it's important to remember that if you become aware of trends, you can also affect trends and create new habits. That's very, very important. And finally, number 5 is the church. In minority communities, the church plays a central role in the culture. So it's really important to get churches talking about mental health. Now, I will save this completely for a totally different video, but there's a whole stigma in the church with mental health. A lot of churches don't feel it's a real issue. They call this demons. They say that people have demons and you can just pray it away, or they're ashamed to just talk about it. Whatever the issue is, they're not talking about it, and they need to. And by equipping churches with better tools and starting the conversation, it's going to influence minority communities to really help themselves. So number 1, you have to fix poverty. Number 2, you have to get more professionals into minority communities, even if it means volunteers at first, to offer services. Number 3, you have to remember the role that culture plays in mental health stigma. Number 4, you have to look at trends in behavior to figure out what you need to address in behavior. And number 5, you need to look at how you can support churches in talking about mental health more.